It's the beginning of the end to the zombie apocalypse series of I Walk Among Zombies. With the intelligent zombies looming on the horizon, what will Yuusuke choose to do in these decisive moments? Side with his fellow humans, or leave to pursue a solitary lifestyle in this world infested with zombies where only he is immune? Today, we're going to be taking a look at the final installment of I Walk Among Zombies visual novel series. With the situation looking grim as time moves on, our cast are pushed to the brink as dire circumstances befall them, making us think twice about who's the real villains in this world ravaged by zombies. Let's take a look at Volume 3 of I Walk Among Zombies, and by extension, Volume 0, the side story volume of the series. And with that, let's begin. Volume 3 acts as the final conclusion to the series, where Yusuke's morals are put to the test, as the situation snowballs for the worst. The story picks back up with Yusuke preparing for their voyage up into the mountains. He gets back and he receives word that people are missing, and very shortly after that, a suicide happens, which is the spark that moves the plot into action. With the introduction of the intelligent zombies and the conflict that is happening in this arc, the story demonstrates its ability to create urgent tension and compelling drama. Yusuke's immunity takes away any zombie danger away from him, but there's always that human element that poses a potential risk to his life. At this point, zombies ironically are the most friendly individuals to him, with the zombie girls being more than just friendly. I remember an argument I had with someone about the first volume regarding Yusuke. I accepted his position as an anti-hero, but I liked his gradual change throughout the second volume. Volume 1 had him selfishly looking out for himself and himself only, and upon meeting Mitsuki, he provided her safety and food in exchange for her body. As the relationship grew, Yusuke developed a more caring attitude towards people, and this expanded into the second volume with Makikura and the other side characters. The argument against this was that his anti-hero status made him feel more unique compared to the usual lawful protagonists. Well, good news for that guy, because Yusuke still has that self-centered attitude of his. There's a saying that you can only get to truly know someone's character when the chips are down, with their back up against the wall. Here, Yusuke is willing to abandon the people if it means prolonging his survival, and I'm sure some of us would elect to prioritize our own well-being over others. You could say that self-preservation is purely built into our bodies. It adds a layer of depth into his true character rather than seeing his surface-level appearance, which makes him more interesting to watch. Speaking of interesting characters, Mitsuki stole the spotlight in this volume. She really came around from her role as damsel in distress / sexual outlet in the prior volumes to be more proactive and actually put up a fight. Despite their Stockholm Syndrome-esque relationship in the beginning, Mitsuki warms up to Yusuke as he's the only one that was there for her in desperate times and treated her more than just a useless girl. Anyone in the shelter could have helped her and looked after her, like her childhood friend, but there's no denying her genuine connection to Yusuke during their time in the supermarket. And I mean emotional connection, not just physical. Yes, Yusuke is not the greatest person around, but he still has some good caring qualities that make Mitsuki feel reassured. I am a bit thrown off of how she just throws herself at Yusuke asking him to take her. I mean, the man saved your life, but don't you think you're laying it on a little bit too much? Okay, never mind. Despite her rough start, Mitsuki's progression throughout the series is decent and she gets some great moments here. Unfortunately, Mitsuki was the only heroine that came out on top. For those Makikura fans out there, including me, you'll be a bit disappointed here. There's a certain event that happens in the story that cripples her, and despite how realistic her behavior may seem, from a storytelling perspective, how the visual novel treats her after the event is fatal. There's no fall from grace or redemption arc for her here. She's just tossed out the window like a rotting corpse. Yeah, I get that living with a zombie outbreak and crappy people can be traumatic, but at least make your suffering meaningful to watch. Too much? Hey, it had to be said. Meanwhile, moving to an actual dead character this time, Tokiko is still the same as always. She's still the same lifeless sex doll as in the previous volumes, except this Onohole moves to find Yusuke using his fluids as a GPS tracker. There is an optional ending for her, but it's not exactly a route, more like an epilogue. And then here you go, here's some more zombie H scenes. Tokiko is lifeless in her actual physical being and personality. There were 3 chances of the series telling her backstory before the outbreak, and every single one of them was missed. And even the side story doesn't mention anything about it. And with that, let's talk about Volume 0, the side story fan disc volume of the series. Volume 0 is a collection of short stories about the characters themselves, with one-off events that happen during the outbreak. These events can be boiled down to ordinary small talk between the cast. Again, it's short, but these brief moments can go a long way towards increasing the reader's fondness towards the characters, to which I'm wondering why it wasn't part of the original volumes in the first place. And yet, even with these short stories, Tokiko gets absolutely nothing in terms of story-relevant content, which is again a missed opportunity, especially if you're going to put glasses on her. There are 3 individual fantasy sex scenes in this volume, and I have mixed feelings about it, mainly because of how much it feels like stage porn scenarios. One of the scenes has the characters disguising sex as a medical examination to check sensitivity. They even have the aloof coworker on the other side of the door, completely oblivious to what's going on. These scenes are almost identical to the stuff on porn sites, you just need to slap the word stepsister into the title for that seal of credibility. Would I say that Volume 0 is worth buying? No, not really. There isn't anything much to add besides more horny content. If it's part of a package sale, then yeah, go for it. It isn't that expensive to begin with, but you don't really need it. I Walk Among Zombies is fundamentally decent for a standard zombie apocalypse story. It's a unique rarity in the visual novel genre for these type of stories. It's very basic, but there's nothing wrong with sticking with fundamentals. It does a good job with setting up the world the characters live in and how they deal with their circumstances, and the production, including the music, is very atmospheric and aids the story. Unfortunately, the main cast themselves are lacking in character, with some not getting any development at all. The story also ends on a kind of "the battle continues" ending, with no solid climactic conclusion and a number of plot threads left hanging. And given that the source material has been abandoned by the author, this is all we're getting as an ending to the series. I say all of this negatively, but if you're looking for a short zombie apocalypse story to fulfill those cravings and that special factor of seeing zombie H scenes, it's a good pickup. Harem ending is best ending. I give I Walk Among Zombies a 3 out of 5. Subscribe if you liked the video and want to see more. Check back every week for new content. For more of my thoughts, you can find me on Twitter at TheAugustHale.